let's raise therefore the big questions now. Who is accountable for what can only be described as Delhi's air apocalypse, or indeed the country's air apocalypse after Diwali? Was the Supreme Court cracker order unfeasible to begin with, that you will only have a deadline of 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. to burst crackers? Pollution politics clouding the real issues once again. Faith versus the right to breathe. Is there a middle path possible? I'm keeping the politicians away and let's turn to people who are citizens who are concerned. Siddharth Luthra, Senior Advocate Supreme Court, joins me. L.N. Rao, former DCP Delhi Police. Professor Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, Chairman Nephron Clinic and a leading pediatrician, joins me. And Bhavreen Kandari, environmentalist and member Warrior Moms. Appreciate you joining us. I want to turn to you, Mr. Luthra, first, because you've tweeted about it and we've also seen others raising their voice that the Supreme Court, in a way, seemed to put the right to breathe below the right to celebrate Diwali. So, religious freedom, if I may use the word, was preferred over the right to breathe. Do you believe the Supreme Court got it horribly wrong by lifting the ban in the first place?
Look, the order's been passed. The question is, we can't go beyond the order or recall. Somebody should have recalled the order if they wanted, if they had an objection. But once the order is passed, the issue is really who is to enforce the order. A, the sales have to be controlled, that there should only be green crackers sold. And B, the police in Delhi, which comes under the center, has to ensure that there is no sales of non-green crackers, and B, that there is control on the time period. I must tell you, I found that on Saturday, till one day prior to Diwali, that's on Sunday, there were, at least in the areas in South Delhi, in Ring Road, I found there were lesser crackers, almost none. It is only when we, on Diwali day, that things went completely out of gear. In fact, I remember taking a walk on, it was Sunday night after dinner, and there was rarely anybody, bursting crackers. But the tragedy is, courts will pass orders. It is the enforcement agencies which have to be done. I heard Mr. Sirsa. Mr. Sirsa has a limitation because Delhi Police does not come under Mr. Sirsa. The second aspect of the matter is that there is also a Parali problem. We have not been able to, the governments, they can work on GST. And there's a GST council, so they can get their GST right because that's commerce. But governments in North India, whether it be Delhi, Haryana, UP, Punjab, have not been able to address the Parali problem in the last decade or so. We were hopeful that after the Delhi government change, there was a lot of blame game that used to go up. There will be a change today. But the result is there for all to see.
So you're in a saying that forget the court order, let's talk about enforcement. Let me come to you, Mr. Rao, as a former DCP Delhi Police. The truth of the matter is, we were told that there would be patrol teams comprising police and pollution control board officials going from markets to market, ensuring that only green crackers were being sold. The truth of the matter is, A, there has been a complete violation of the basic Supreme Court order on deadlines for when crackers could be burst, and in many cases we are told that many highly polluting varieties, rockets, bombs were on display without even attempting a green label and they were being sold. So where is the enforcement? This is the point that many of us feared would happen, that the police is incapable or has no, or is simply not willing, the political will is missing to enforce the Supreme Court's order. Do you agree?
Good evening, Rajeev, and to your all co-panelists and to US. Happy Diwali to everyone. Definitely, there was an order from the Honorable Supreme Court that firecrackers crackers can be busted during certain time period. And that there was also one important thing is that the green crackers will be identified by some QR code. But this was the problem, and the Delhi Police, I think, might have tried their best to implement that order of this Honorable Supreme Court. But the problem I could perceive that number one,
sir, there were fake QR codes being used. Delhi Police cannot go from market to market. You know, and I know there were fake QR codes being used. This entire system collapsed.
I'm coming to that, Rajiv, because the QR code were unable to be identified, and in garb of that order of the Honorable Supreme Court, the people also tried to bust that non-green crackers also, and this was the problem. And Delhi Police tried their best, but it's a very vast city, and this Delhi Police, keeping in view the strength of Delhi Police, they cannot go any hook and crook a corner of that city. And that's why the problem that it might be not implemented in full sense, this order of the Supreme Court. And that another period was also that the
Right.
time frame, that the people also exceeded the time limit also. That it is also the persons who, the people of Delhi
So,
should also be disciplined.
you're making an important point. I take your point. I take your point. People of Delhi, Bhavreen Kandari, you're an environmentalist activist. The fact is, if the people do not want to comply, if the people believe it is their fundamental right to burst crackers, what can any court, any environmental activist or the police do? People have decided we are not going to listen to what even courts say. This is our fundamental right under Article 25 to freedom of religion. We can celebrate Diwali the way we want.
Rajdeep, sorry, I wouldn't say that. It's citizens will follow the leaders, or the law, or your highest court. Now, we saw this was a blatant defiance of the Supreme Court's order, and it's not the first time. And this is kind of becoming I shouldn't even say a seasonal, it's becoming a norm, and which is very worrying. So I'd like to not ignore what you were saying initially with Mr. Luthra, that the Supreme Court had repeatedly it's held that the right to clean air is part of right to life under Article 21. And when they actually allow these green, so-called green crackers, which will emit PM, etc., metals, etc., they compromise that right. And the court, the highest court had themselves noted in earlier hearings, which was in 2021 and 2023, that these so-called green crackers were neither enforceable and nor less harmful, or all the details of fake QR codes, etc. All that was noted. So obviously they went steps back, and that is the message. Now, when you say green crackers itself,
the Supreme Court, ma'am, says they struck a balance.
It's misleading.
The Supreme Court claims they tried to, ma'am, the Supreme Court claims they tried to strike a balance between environmental protection, or between the right to breathe and the right to celebrate. You don't agree with that?
How can it be? Exactly. That obviously it doesn't. What you're saying. It's absolutely not. It's balanced. You are actually saying that okay. You can poison your children. As compared to you can celebration or livelihood or whatever. So it's defying its own orders and its own thoughts for whatever reasons. And that is what, see, when the messages start the misleading, first of all, a green cracker, it's a misleading term. So even a simple family who probably thought that they're doing good to the environment, they bought green. So if they had to say burst one box of crackers, now they bought 3. And this is how the wrong narratives are set. And so the leaders have to lead. Citizens will always follow. No, we did not wear a seatbelt for 20 years till the Motor Vehicle Act was there, but we were made to do it. So you have to lead. You will have to say the right things. You will have to implement them. You have to.
So you're blaming the leadership. You're blaming the leadership for failing to implement the Supreme Court orders. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, as a leading doctor, are we exaggerating the threat that these AQI levels pose to people, or are they realistic in your view? I've seen your tweets also claiming that what we are seeing will be extremely hazardous to thousands and thousands of children in particular. Is that an exaggeration, given that this is those in favor of bursting crackers say it's only one day? Delhi's weather right across the year is terrible. Why only single out Diwali, they say?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Rajdeep. Good to see you. These are all published research data which are in Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine, British Medical Journal, JAMA, which are India-centric. These publications are peer-reviewed, and they have been centered around Delhi and 10 to 18 major cities in India. So this is not international data. Even a 10 marked increase in PM 2.5 gives a 200% increase in the incidence of death because of myocardial infarction and strokes. We know that there is an 11-year loss of lifespan of people living in Delhi. We also know just in 4 months of living in Delhi in winter, exposed to this AQI and PM 2.5 and PM 5 and 10, it is equivalent to 9,000 cigarettes a human being smokes without touching a cigarette. We also know that it involves 20 major organs, including cancers, including diabetes, obesity, respiratory distress problems, asthma, brain disorders, dementia. It involves the pregnancies. Pregnant ladies are now being born with stillbirths, with premature deliveries, and fetuses with brain atrophy. Published data with absent kidneys, published data. So these all influences of pollution is well documented. The issue really is, very quickly, Rajdeep, is our entire focus should not be on PM 2.5. This is a hallowed criminal. But the fact is, we are overlooking aspects which are equally dangerous, like black carbon, carbon monoxide, NOx, SOx, volatile organic compounds, hydrofluorocarbons, and particulate matter of plastic, which we call it micro nanoplastic, which is the highest incidence causing infertility and cancers. We also know there is a published study to show that there is an underestimation of PM 2.5 and AQI in India, in Delhi, by 20 to 25% by aerodynamic studies because of the hydrophobic nature of the particles. That means the particles are much more, but the counting is less. We also know that the relative humidity and temperature impacts this reading. That means the actual reading is a lot more. Pollution will kill us now and will continue to damage.
But that's all across the year. Dr. Bagai, how will you respond to those who say, look, many of these issues concerning Delhi, when I look at construction dust, for example, when I look at issues like stubble burning, why only blame, they say, Diwali? They say this is once in the year, we should be allowed our night of enjoyment. Therefore, do not single out Diwali crackers for the environment, for the effects it has on public health. What will your response as a doctor be to those who speak that language?
Yeah, I'm a staunch Hindu. I am very, very proud of my religion. I respect all other religions. But my faith and practicing religion should not be a public health hazard for the community at large. Although Diwali crackers are burst at one night, and let me tell you, there was gross violations across the city. There were crackers, at least in South Delhi, being heard till 4:30 early morning, and none of them were green. All of them had fake stickers. But the issue really is that this smoke and particulate matter circulates and floats as sediments in the air for weeks after that. 100% agreed that the parali is killing us. The burning of the fires is hurting us. Road dust, construction, and various other emission norms of vehicles. But really, I think we as citizens have to take a call that we need to save our next generation. Last very quick point is, pollution is 24/7, 12 months. We need to address this issue all 12 months with equal vigor.
Okay, I want to bring in Siddharth Luthra at this point. Siddharth Luthra, purely now from a legal perspective, Supreme Court passes an order, fixes certain timelines within which you can burst crackers. As we've seen, crackers were burst late into the night, midnight and beyond. Who is in contempt of court? The citizens who burst the crackers, the enforcement agencies like the police that failed to comply with it, or the Delhi government that gave various assurances to the Supreme Court? Let's be very clear. Can I, as a citizen who was till midnight listening to the sound of crackers, go to the Supreme Court tomorrow and say, your orders have been violated, all these agencies are in violation, contempt of court?
I think, Rajdeep, it is important for citizens to go to the court and say there is a breach of the order, there's a contempt. The contempt is at 3 levels. It is by the individual who continues to do it post the night, and I'm hopeful that the police have registered some FIRs. Secondly, Mr. Sirsa left us before we could get a word with him. He's in charge of pollution. What were his people doing? When a construction site goes up, pollution during the lockdown period, during GRAP, there on every construction site, people reach from the pollution department. What were they doing last evening? The third issue is that it's police. If any citizen, let us say you, approach the court, I am hopeful that the court will act on this blatant breach of the order And contempt, it is a punishable offense. Apart from that, it is contempt. And I think it's time that somebody acts. The reason is this. This is an annual problem. The fact is, Diwali is the festival of lights. People say it's a festival of crackers. All right, the court allows you 2 hours. What is the just? I mean, we had Mr. Sirsa saying mischievous people were doing it, but I need to ask him, what were your officers doing? Were they sleeping? Where were they?
So that's the question. That's the question, Mr. Rao, that Siddharth Luthra is posing. Yeah, go ahead. Complete.
Yes.
The point is this, Rajdeep.
Complete, Siddharth.
People, if there is a rule or regulation or a court order and people choose to breach it, under the law, it's very clear, under the constitution, it is the agencies of government who have to ensure compliance with the orders of the court. The court does not have a mechanism to get it enforced. It's government is to comply with it. And this is a case where we have a problem where there is non-compliance, and therefore there needs to be action and definitely introspection for the next year and every year.
But I'm clear that, but you're clear it is contempt of court, right?
It is contempt and it is an offense. It is a punishable offense as also contempt, because post the Supreme Court order, there was a declaration by the authorities, I believe by the police, to say that this is the order, please comply with it. No crackers beyond these 2 hours, nothing other than green crackers. And on this business regarding the holograms, I can tell you it's so easy to do it. Across the country, people have done it. But the point is, this will have to be done in advance today to prepare for next year. If you do it at the last minute, obviously there are going to be problems.
Okay. Mr. Rao, I haven't seen a single case where a serious FIR has been filed against those who have violated the law. Instead, as we saw with the minister, he's blaming Aam Aadmi Party government for what's happening in Punjab. And we are seeing this across cities. You know, it's happening in Mumbai, it's happening every city is allowing crackers to be burst late into the night. And the police seems to be helpless. Please explain, why is the police helpless? I can understand it's difficult to track down every green cracker. Why can't the police file FIRs against those who are bursting crackers at midnight?
Rajiv, I fully agree with Siddharth Luthra ji, and I agree that some FIRs could have been registered. I have to check from Delhi Police whether they have registered FIR or not. I think definitely some FIRs have been registered against the violators of this order of the Honorable Supreme Court.
No, why some? There should have been each and every... No, sir, why some? Why some? There should have been hundreds of FIRs registered and put some people in jail.
The person who have been caught red-handed by doing all this contravention of the order, definitely the FIR should have been done, registered against them. But the person who could not be traced or could not be reached by the police, and they might have been busted the crackers and then went away. That may be the problem, but still the police might have registered against them also, and the case may be investigated and will be investigated. And on the point of contempt of court,
we haven't heard of any such cases where we haven't heard of any such cases. But Bhavreen Kandari, will environmental activists now take it up in the Supreme Court? Will you all walk the talk? Are you all going to go to the Supreme Court tomorrow morning and say there was a violation of the court order?
Radhi, we'd love to see. Activist is the name. We are all citizens. We are desperate mothers. As you know, we are mothers, parents. And that's exactly what we've been encouraging, that do not write on WhatsApp. Please make a police complaint. At least the complaint should go, and then we get to the next steps. And that's not this year. It's been happening for years now. Because there are these heartbreaking messages of what's happening to toddlers and babies, and how pregnant women are worried because somebody has a C-section today, and she was asking whether she can get air purifier into the hospitals, those kind of things. So it's absolutely unforgivable. And when lakhs of crackers are burst openly, despite
you're making a good point that this. You're making a good point that it is the responsibility of citizens. The final word, sure.
To make
Sanjeev Bagai, final word from you. Do you believe that there is something inherently wrong in the way Why is it the right to breathe not seen as an important fundamental right? I speak to people and they say this is an elite preoccupation. Janta jo hai na, wo crackers bajana chahte hai. Wo, they want fatakas. This is a source of entertainment. What will you tell them? Those who say this is only the elites are interested in air, in clean air, not the people, aam janta.
Rajdeep, three quick points. I think the huge amount of public awareness needs to be continuously maintained all through the year. Point number two, there are cities internationally, like New York or in Sydney, near Sydney Harbour Bridge, they have fire shows. They have great shows, but it's in open air, not in clusters where packed residential colonies are there. We can identify this and have a grand celebration at a community level, but not within cooperative societies and closed neighborhoods, which can hurt people's health. Point number three, I think we need a ministry of, and that should be governed with a task force which includes environmentalists, doctors, and scientists. This is well beyond the scope of one particular state in isolation. Can't work in silos. We need a comprehensive plan so that at least next we breathe better.
Okay, let me leave it there. It's a yearly ritual, maybe even a yearly ritual that we have these TV shows. And maybe the media also needs now to have a concerted round-the-year campaign monitoring air quality, not just in the national capital, but across the country. You can't build a Viksit Bharat without guaranteeing clean air to its citizens. That's the very least that you need to do. I appreciate all my panelists joining me on the show tonight.